All right. Well, hello, everyone. By now, you should know that I'm Cyreema Marshall, the current host and interviewer for the Role Model Speaker Series with Elevate Plus. It's so great to see all of you. And today, for our last Role Model Speaker for the summer, we have Mr. Gary Sargeant, and I'll be reading his bio really quickly to you. With over 25 years in the music industry, Gary Sargeant has had the privilege of working on promotional and lifestyle marketing campaigns for some of the biggest names in the business, including Beyonce, Usher, J. Cole, Megan Thee Stallion, Gunna, and Young Thug. His journey began at the Institute of Audio Research in New York, followed by internship at Asteria Records. From there, he held pivotal roles, including Director of Radio Promotions and Lifestyle Marketing at Columbia Records and VP of Promotions and Lifestyle Marketing at 300 Entertainment. Throughout his career, he has specialized in crafting campaigns that bridge underground culture with mainstream success. Whether it was driving the success of Gunna and Young Thug's projects or elevating the reach of other global artists, he's consistently found innovative ways to connect talent with audiences in authentic and impactful ways. So today we have Gary Sargeant. Hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you doing today? Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So I'm going to jump right in with our questions. And so first and foremost, can you explain your two most current endeavors and projects that you're currently pursuing?
Oh, right now, I am pursuing a tech platform that assists in streaming artists and fan engagement, to help merch sales and logistics. So that's one of them. And my second is another tech platform to assist creators in building their social media following in order to help get brand deals. So
Oh,
those are my two current um pursuits right now.
right. Then I guess my next question, we're going to kind of go back to the very beginning. So we know where you're at right now, and now we're going to go
Okay.
back a little bit. So can you explain to us your academic journey to the Institute of Audio Research?
Oh, I was attending Temple University in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
majoring in accounting because I just loved numbers. So I was like, oh, let me try accounting, because of my love for numbers. And so it started there. Uh, a friend of mine in Philadelphia was working at one of the local radio stations in Philadelphia. He moved to LA. He got a job in LA at a record label and needed some help in Philly. I think it was a concert or something coming into Philadelphia, and he needed help with the street team. So he called me, he gave me a call and asked if I could hire a few people, a few of us to like put up billboards on the street poles and stuff and talk about this artist coming to town and get some attention and get people to come to the concert.
Mhm.
So to get paid from that, I think it was interesting. Like, wow, you could get paid by doing this stuff. So that started my transition into the music world.
I guess that my next question then was, what was your thought process when you decided to transfer from Temple to the Institute of Audio Research? And you kind of gave like the beginnings of that. It was friends,
Yeah,
networking, and that experience that you had.
yeah, it was that experience. So after that, and then we were able to go to the concert and all type of stuff. So
Mhm.
I decided to come back to New York. I'm from Brooklyn, so I was like, oh, let me go back home and see how I could get more into this music lifestyle. And there was a school, it still exists nowadays, called Institute of Audio Research in the city in Manhattan, um, where they teach you how to engineer. They teach you how to record music and well, back then it was splicing and all different, it's more technical now, but back then, there was a lot of manual labor into it. And yeah, so I was like, okay, this may be my entrance into the music industry,
Mhm.
going to Institute of Audio Research.
And did
Um,
you have a previous background in music? Was that passion for music always there?
always had a passion for music. I mean, I was born in a time where hip hop was becoming um, more mainstream.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, back then, you could probably hear rap on the radio just on the weekends, and rap videos just played on like once a day, what I mean, that type of thing. So I always had a love for hip hop. I also played piano myself. So I definitely had a love for music.
And in our previous conversation, we had talked about networking while you were at the Institute of Audio Research, as well as how you attained your internship that started off your career. So, can you tell us more about that?
Well, networking, like I said, I had a friend that was on the label side. So, he definitely introduced me to a few people. And then as far as in Institute of Audio Research, um, just really staying close to the other students that were in there and their interest and what drove them to come to Institute of Audio Research. So I think we all stayed together as a team at our institute or at that school. Um, but it was definitely my outside network that gave me motivation to stay, to stay in it.
Was there a particular mentor or particular peer that stood out while you were there that really left a lasting impression on you?
At Institute of Audio Research, no, not really.
Hmm.
Um, nah, no mentor at that time.
Hmm.
Um, Coming out of there, graduating out of Institute of Audio Research, I think, a lot of decisions in my life were I would call gut decisions. Like you feel like I felt it. Um, so upon graduating, they offered internships. They offered internships to either intern at a studio or to intern at a record label. And my gut, my inner self was like, you know what? I want to see what the record labels are about because I just felt that there was so much more going on inside of record labels that I had no clue about instead of just working in the studio, sitting there and recording an artist. I just felt there were more opportunities at the record label. So that was just instinct. That was gut. And sometimes you have to take those chances and those risks in life and see what happens. And that's what I did. I took the label route instead of doing engineering at a studio.
It was kind of that gut instinct that you had for.
Yeah, that gut. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And if you remember that first week or month of your internship, can you tell us like what you observed there or how you made yourself stand out amongst your peers or other people working at that point?
Um, that first, what I noticed that first week, there's a certain producer that probably most of you guys would know. So I was working I got an internship in the A&R department, um, which A&R department is the department that finds artists and book studio time and used to get all those things done. And you get, a lot of privy information comes across your table in that department. And there was a certain producer, one of his checks came across my desk for a nice sum of money. And I was like, wow, like you could get one check with this amount of money. I was like, oh no, I'm definitely staying in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first kickoff for me. And yeah, it was just all in from that point. And I think to stand out, I'm one of those people, I'm very observant. So anytime I'm in a situation, especially a new situation, I'm always looking to see what's going on around me. And back then I called it other people's weaknesses. Like I always watched to see where somebody was weak at.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I call it opportunities. So I look to see where the opportunities stand, or something that I would do differently, something that would stand out. So I watched for opportunities back then, and the opportunity came where I saw that if I came in earlier than certain people and left later than certain people, that more work would be able to get done And that's what I did. So I took that upon myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna come in early, I'm gonna leave late.
Right.
And that was my, that was my blessing to be able to move forward.
Right, maximizing any opportunity that you saw. And I
Absolutely.
guess I have another question about A&R, like specifically in terms of being able to determine talent. Like, how did you develop like a keen eye for like taste or talent, and how did you develop that at such a crucial time in your career trajectory?
I think that, part of that is natural. It's what I liked. You know what I mean? It was the
Mhm.
music that I enjoyed. It's the music that I came up with. It was the culture. Being from Brooklyn in the middle of hip hop, it was just, it was really, really natural
Mhm.
for me. So, at that point coming into Arista Records, um, I worked under some names that really, as far as urban music was concerned,
Mhm.
you know, L.A. Reid was the chairman of the company. Um, Jermaine Dupri was there. You know what I mean? So it was like there were people like that you saw on TV, you saw the videos, and that they were part of this culture that I was working for. So
Mhm.
it just was like, let me sit here and learn and really take it in.
And was there any specific like technical skills that you learned in school, learned while being a musician, or learned at this internship that helped you turn this internship into a job opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. The things I learned at audio research, how to record and edit records and be able to splice at a certain time or cut a record down and blend it together. Those things definitely came into my advantage. Um, I would get calls, like I said, staying late. I would get calls from LA Reid, like, this record is 4 minutes long. We need to cut it down to 3 minutes and 10 seconds without losing the essence of the record. And those, what I mean, those things were left to me. And those are the technical skills that I did learn at IAR.
Mhm.
So to be able to do that for L.A. Reid at that particular time of him calling, I mean, he couldn't do without me after that.
Right. Also, I guess my next question is about long-standing clients and kind of developing the confidence to be able to onboard new people and new projects. So how did you maintain those relationships to continue to work with like these very high valuable clients or these high talented people?
Um, I would really say never abuse the relationships, meaning if I pick up the phone and call someone right now of that
Mhm.
stature, of those statures, they're
Mhm.
gonna answer because it's like, oh, he never calls, you know what I mean? Like he never calls for anything. So if he's calling, it must be something is going on because, so I would say don't abuse, when you build a relationship, don't abuse it. The only time, you use it when necessary, in
Mhm.
my opinion. Um, I am not I'm not the greatest networker. Like I'm not the type to always check in and be like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm just checking on you."
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not that person, but I guess who I am, people know if I'm reaching out, there's something there. So I think that's my way. Other people have different ways. There are people who check in weekly. They'll send a text, "Hey, what's going on?" Just checking on you. So whatever you feel comfortable with, who you are as a person is how you keep your network and also build your network.
Hmm. So it's kind of like the idea of knowing yourself as a person and then knowing how you're going to interact with
Right. Because you don't
people.
you don't want to come across fraudulent.
Right.
Because I think people see through that, right? So
Mhm.
I would say stay true to yourself, stay true to who you are um and move in that space.
Mhm. Was there any goals that you had when you were at Arista Records that you were then able to achieve when you joined Columbia Records or when you began working for 300 Entertainment?
Um I think Arista Records being my first job.
Hmm.
Um I probably it was a lot of fun. Let me say that.
Hmm.
It was a lot of fun being on the road, being on tours. Um, Arista Records closed its doors in 2004,
Hmm.
and I did not, I did not get transferred to another label, right?
Right.
There were a lot of employees. LA Reid went to Def Jam.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of our artists went over to Jive and RCA Records. So there
Right.
was a lot of transitioning going on. And, me being new at the time and really coming in on the A&R department and then transferring over to um, radio promotions department, I really didn't find my footing during that time. So I was not one of the employees that was transferred to another label.
Right.
And I think during that time off, so from 2004 to 2005, I kind of sat out just trying to figure out, I mean, I love the music industry. So it was like, oh, what do I have to do to get back in?
Mhm.
And that was one of the times where, I did use one of my relationships, right? So I made a phone call and went in to go visit somebody, and they offered me a job on the spot because they didn't know that I wasn't transferred into one of those other labels.
Right.
And I took that job. So that was 2005, and I ran. I've ran from there. Like I stayed in it from that point. So um, you get to see a lot during that downtime. You get to see what it is you want to do and how you feel about what you're doing. And it was definitely I want to get back into this game.
Right. And I was gonna ask like how that period in between, like transitioning between Arista Records to Columbia Records, like how that could have potentially have been a challenge, but clearly you made the best of it by making
No, it was definitely a challenge because you asked about mentors previously.
yeah.
During that time, I never really looked for a mentor or thought that I had a mentor, but certain people used to talk to me and tell me things, and I always listened to the guys that were older and were in the industry a lot longer than I was. And one of the guys, like I said, I started off in A&R,
Mm.
and one of the guys, he was an A&R way before, and he told me, he said, listen, if you want longevity in this music industry, they were offering me a position in the Arista was offering me a position in the radio promotions department,
Mhm.
and the A&R department was the glitz and glamour, right? The A&R, you're with the artists and you're in the studio and you're finding artists and signing them and giving them deals and everything. So I wanted to stay in the A&R department. But he told me, he said, you want longevity in this game, radio promotions is the side that you want to be on.
Right.
And at first, I didn't listen. I was like, oh, whatever, because I
Mhm.
wanted to be in the glitz and glamour side of it. And
Right.
eventually I did. It was the radio side was kind of like flowing for me. Like
Mhm.
I knew people who were at the radio stations. I knew DJs. I knew, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like, it was easy. Like, we would come out the studio and I'd be able to take a record straight to the radio station and get the record played. It
Mhm.
was so easy for me that they were like, how are you doing this? And I didn't really look at it as a big deal. It was friends that I had because of my friend in Philadelphia. I was already around it.
Right.
So um to me, that was a mentorship moment. Even though I didn't look at him as a mentor,
Mhm.
him telling me and giving me that advice of, if you want longevity, this is what you do.
Mhm.
That was a mentorship moment to me, right?
Mhm.
So that's how, so that's how that went. And I ended up doing radio promotions and marketing.
Right. And the music industry is truly dynamic when you understand like how many key parts it is to not only creating the artist, creating their obviously their individual persona and marketing. So I guess how did you stay ahead? And even I guess in talking about your two most current endeavors in terms of tech, how are you remaining like on the ball in a changing music industry?
Um, networking and I've never coming up, it's always the two sides, right? So you have the younger generation, you have the older generation. And I
Mm,
think a lot of guys, what I noticed when I was coming up, the older guys, they held on tight to what they had, and they
mm,
never really wanted the younger guys to come in because they were insecure. They felt that the younger guys were going to come in and take over.
right,
And I wanted it to be different. I wanted to be different. So I always accepted the younger generation. I want to know what they're talking about. I want to hear those conversations. I want to be in those conversations because that's how that to me that's how you continue, right?
right,
By bringing up the next generation, having those conversations because even though there are new things going on, life is cyclical. So to me, there are things that reminded me of how I grew up.
right.
And I don't know if a lot of people understand that synergy, right? So to
Mm,
me, the music industry has changed. And I mean, people say that all the time. And I think the older people complain, like,
mm,
oh, the music industry is different and this, that, and the other. And
right.
the younger generation is like, we love it, right?
Yes.
Now, the reason the reason being is that how I look at it, right? Growing up in hip hop, when I was coming up, we had such things called a mixtape, right? Now you
Mm,
guys have mixtapes now, but it's different. Like we actually had
physical.
tapes,
Mm-hmm.
physical cassette tapes, right? So that's where the word mixtape came from.
Mm,
And you had certain DJs that put out these mixtapes, and that was just in the streets. Like it wasn't about sales or any of that, right? So it was the culture. So commute,
sorry about that.
no problem. So with these mixtapes, it wasn't mainstream. Like, you know what I mean? You couldn't go to the record store and find these mixtapes. Like, you would
Mm,
actually go downtown Brooklyn and there would be a guy on the corner
mm,
selling these tapes.
mm,
And you had to go get whatever the newest tape was
mm,
from whichever DJ Clue or DJ SNS or whoever it was. And that's how we communicated, right? So you would go to school like, yo, did you hear the news, such and such? Right. So now you guys have YouTube or you have this playlist, right? That comes with the new music. And but then you could just put music out
yeah.
yourself, right? You
Mm,
don't need a record label to now distribute your music.
mm,
So to me, that's a mixtape
yeah.
because it's, you know what I mean? It's going straight from artist to the consumer.
Right.
Back then, it was straight from the artist to the consumer, right? So
Mm,
to me, that's the same thing. So it's like, okay, so now the middleman isn't really needed.
mm-hmm.
You get it? So you have guys like me who've been in the game for a while. They don't like that. But if we think about it, it's how
Hmm.
we came up as well. So
Right.
we have to understand this new technology. How do we take advantage of it? How do we use it? Or, like I said, what is the opportunity for us
Mm,
in this, you know what I mean, in this form? So, what happens with the knowledge that I have, I may come across a new artist that put a record out. But one thing that we've always said in the music industry, if you don't market and you don't promote, nothing happens. So
right.
you could put a record out on Spotify. If you don't
Mhm.
market and promote it, it's just gonna sit there, right?
Right.
So if you don't know how to use TikTok, if you don't know how to use Instagram, if you don't know how to market your record and how to do it, how to market your record on YouTube, it's just gonna sit there and nobody's really gonna hear it. So my expertise is now like I don't talk about radio because do you listen to radio?
No. I have Apple Music or Spotify,
So
Sound.
there's no right.
Right.
So there's no reason, you know what I mean? So radio promotion in my eyes, it's not it's not dead, but
Mm-hmm.
radio used to be first. So like how I said at Arista, I would come out the studio and go straight to the radio station.
Hmm.
That's not what it is anymore. Radio is now the icing on the cake,
Right.
right? So if you want the Billboard Awards and you want growth and this, that,
Mm,
then you start talking about radio. But for a record to really be known, I can't tell you how many meetings we have about TikTok and the records, how many creates need to be on TikTok. A lot of people that came up with me, they don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
they're gonna get lost. And I
Mhm,
mean, but that, that's just on them. I just came up differently with a
mhm,
different style, and I appreciate what the younger generation is bringing. And I
mhm.
think the younger generation needs to appreciate what we could bring over
Absolutely.
to, to that table. So like my partner, my business partner in the two tech companies I'm building, he's 25.
Mhm,
So he's a young guy just coming out, just coming out of school.
mhm,
And we communicate, and I need his information and he needs my information. And
mhm.
and that's how we make these build these new companies.
And that's very refreshing to hear because I know for a lot of young people coming out of graduate school, undergrad, it feels like we're in like this weird like mix of kind of merging in with new technology as well as knowing that people who are older or have been in the business longer is kind of always this tension. So that's like
Mhm.
great to hear of like the idea of collaborating, knowing where you can meet, knowing where you differ, and kind of building upon that type of
Right.
relationship.
Mhm.
And I guess also too as well. My other question would be about, sorry, that was such a great tangent. I kind of lost my spot. I guess trying to find a better way to word this question, but
Mhm.
about like the vocabulary that you use in terms of like your opinion on like maybe the word change or maybe the word failure, like how do, because I know that for a lot of young people that it's the idea of changing your mind, changing what career you want to go to, or feeling as if you failed when you don't get an internship or don't get a job. So how do you, I guess, change your mindset around those words to kind of propel yourself forward from like a potential setback?
The definition of failure for me is lesson learned,
Mm, hmm.
right? So if I did it that way and I failed,
Right.
I learned a lesson, right?
Hmm.
So I'm going to go back and I'm not going to do it that way again. I'm going to change something in the way I did whatever it is that I failed in. If
Hmm.
it's something that I want deeply and I see it, I'm going to keep going for it.
Right.
And it could come down to simple things as how you speak to yourself, how you
Mm,
say something to yourself. I remember being in the music. So before this was at probably, yeah, when I came into 300, and there's a lot of lessons that I've learned, but
mhm,
the one about speaking to yourself is really. I used to be like, I want to be the man in this music industry. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like I want to be the man, but it never felt comfortable to me, right?
Right.
It never felt saying it like that never felt comfortable to me.
Mhm,
And I'm always this close, like, yo, I'm this close to being the man in this music industry. I want to be the man. I want to be the man.
mhm.
And for real, like, yo, and those word that phrasing of it never felt good.
Right.
I changed the phrase to I want to be one of the top executives in the music industry.
Mhm.
And within a month, I was offered a vice president title
Wow.
because I just reframed. You know what I'm saying? So it could be as
Mhm,
simple as that. Like failure is a lesson learned. Like what am I doing wrong? How can I change my thought process, my attitude, my approach, whatever it is? And sometimes it's just in us to do it. And
right.
and literally within a month, I was offered a vice president title,
Wow.
changing that thought process.
That, right. And then stepping into the shoes of as a mentor, as a leader, what advice did you give to the young people that you were working with, as well as like to yourself and knowing how to be the best type of mentor?
You have to take risks. You
Mm,
have to take chances. You have to take risks. Um, Without it, you're not gonna grow. I think and I could give an example of myself where the biggest risk that I took, or one of them, I remember how I felt being out of the music industry from 2004 to 2005.
mhm.
And I never wanted to feel like that again.
Right.
So I was at Columbia from 2005 to 2017,
Mhm.
2018, somewhere around there.
Right.
And during that time, probably from 2011 to 2016, 17,
Mm,
I didn't receive any promotion. I didn't get a promotion.
mm,
I just felt, I started to feel stagnant.
mm,
And but it was like, yo, I'm still in the music industry. I'm getting I'm making six figures a year,
mhm,
but there was no momentum in my life. Like it was just the same thing day after day after day.
mhm,
And I couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, and I resigned. And I was like, yo, I'm out. And
mhm,
everybody, all of my colleagues, everybody, that knew me was like, so what are you gonna do? Like you going to another label? Like everybody thought I left Columbia to go to another record label.
right.
And I was like, nah, like it's just I don't like being stagnant.
Mhm,
I like forward motion. I like momentum. I like and I'm not getting it here.
mhm,
And I left.
right.
And by leaving within a few months, like as people heard that I left Columbia, I
Mhm,
started getting phone calls.
right.
And it was like, yo, what are you doing? This, that, and other. And I'm like, nothing, I'm trying to figure it out. I went back to Philly and opened a restaurant. Like I
Mm,
was really like, I need to do something. I need to do something where I feel momentum. Like I
mhm,
understand, what the music industry. It was more of a it was that I want to be the man thing, right? Being in the music industry, like, yo, I have access to this and that and other. And I was like, you know what? That stuff didn't matter more than moving in life and having momentum.
mhm,
And I got a phone call from I don't know if you guys know, it's his name is Kevin Lyles, one of the biggest guys over at Def Jam. He was in charge of all anything hip hop and Def Jam. He was
mhm,
right under Russell Simmons.
mhm,
And I got a call from him and his team, and they said, "Yo, come, come over, come see us, take this interview." And but during that time off, I was able to realize what I wanted,
right.
right?
Mhm,
And I went to the interview. Um, I told him what I wanted,
mhm,
and we came to an agreement, and I came over to 300.
mhm,
But that was a risk that I took. You know what
right.
I'm saying? It was a risk that I'm going to leave Columbia Records, six-figure salary,
Mhm,
living great, and it wasn't enough for me. It was internally it wasn't enough for me.
mhm,
And it was a chance, it was a risk. I did it
mhm,
and it worked, and it worked to my benefit.
mhm.
So that's part of that's part of the chances that you take and the risks that you can take in life.
Definitely. And I guess that leads into my next question about like allowing for change in terms of like how do you adopt to the culture of a new company? Because I think that's also something that's really important for people going into the workforce of that each company has a different culture. So how did you take what you learned at Columbia or not and apply it to this new and exciting position?
I mean, your experience in life are your experiences in life. So it's nothing that you can't or won't take,
Hmm.
take with you. But you're right, different cultures because the culture of 300
Hmm.
was more similar to the culture of Arista than it
Right.
was Columbia, right?
Hmm.
Um, but how I adapt is to be quiet and watch.
Right.
Right?
Observing.
I'm quiet. I watch. I see that. I try to figure out the energy of everybody in these meetings.
Mhm.
Um, some people are confrontational. Some people are, what I mean. So you have to see the dynamic that you're now sitting in.
Right.
Um, you were hired. You have to believe that you were hired for a reason. So
Right.
you don't need to overdo it, right? Um, you were hired because you are the best at what you do.
Right.
Nobody's gonna hire you if they don't think you're good enough.
Hmm.
Now, doesn't mean that you can't learn because actually when I was brought in, they told me they were like, listen, we can't give you this title, this such and such title yet because you haven't held a position that allows us for you to come in at this title.
Right.
Give us a year to
Mhm.
train you to become higher level executive,
Right.
right? So it wasn't that I wasn't the best at what I did.
Mhm.
I knew what I could do, but there was certain information that I wasn't privy to that I had to learn,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So that's how, so that's how you adapt. When you get in those rooms,
Mhm.
you pay attention to what's going on around you. You pay attention to you pay attention to all of it. And
Mhm.
once you pay attention, then you know how to speak to the room.
Right. My next question is about like portfolio, because obviously, I guess in any creative industry, you need a portfolio. You need to show your level of expertise. So, I guess, how did you market yourself as well as develop a portfolio that these calls were being made and they knew that they had a discussion with you, you were going to be hired?
Um, I mean, the music industry is probably different. Well, not probably. The music industry is different from a lot of
Hmm.
industries.
Right.
Um, I've never had a resume. I never had to create a resume, right? So
Lucky.
I don't know any, I don't know too many other industries where I literally never had a resume. Like my outside life and being involved and being, I mean, I guess y'all call it being outside. Me being outside spoke for me, right?
Right.
Like I didn't, I didn't have to do any of that because I was always entrenched in the culture. I was always entrenched in what I did. So people heard my name from the work that I did.
Right.
The music industry is the music industry is super small. As
Mhm.
big as people may think it is, there are three major record labels, right? So you have Universal Music Group,
Mhm.
Warner Music Group, and Sony. Those are the three major labels.
Mhm.
Those those are the three major labels. Right now, there are a lot of digital distribution labels, but back then it was three major labels. And
Mhm.
under those three major labels, there were a bunch of smaller labels,
Mhm.
but really that was it. So if you go to a conference, you go to a music conference, we're all there together. We all know each other. We all, we so being in the mix, really being in the
Mhm.
mix of what I did.
Mhm. So making a name for yourself then. So without the resume, it was just
Making a name,
the
right?
power
Making
of
a
yeah.
name, making a name for myself. Exactly, exactly.
I'm going to begin to open up to questions from interns, alumni, mentors. Are there any questions that are in the chat, or you can raise your hand and begin to ask Gary any questions? Don't be shy. Yes.
I'll ask a question. First of all, Sarima, phenomenal questions as always. Love your skills. My question to you is somebody who's very experienced in their field, what mistakes do you kind of notice marketers make when promoting their music or their brand? Is there anything that kind of sticks out?
That's a good question.
In my industry, I think how people market incorrectly, people aren't true to themselves. They try to chase what's going on. And when you chase what's going on, you lose the authenticity. So I
Mhm.
think being, in any marketing plan or anything like that, you have to um let me say this. I remember I used to say all the time, um if somebody came in and they were like, oh, they sing R&B
Mhm.
at Columbia, it would be, this is the approach, right? And I would call it the cookie cutter approach.
Mhm.
To me, everything that came across my table was different. Everything is unique. And you have to put together an individual marketing plan for every project, every song, not even every artist, every project that came out. There was something special or different about that project. So because you do hip hop or because you do R&B, it's not the same. It's, I mean, I didn't use the same approach. I wanted to use a different approach depending on what the product is. So if we talk about marketing in general or branding, I think that is, you know what I mean, that's what you do. You take every product, everything individualistically, and you market it as such. Right. So that would be my advice to them.
That was a great question. Any other questions? And I guess I have a comment to that as well in terms of what I'm seeing in terms of the music that I'm listening to or any of the marketing campaigns that I've seen is that it's a lot of reference. There's a lot of nostalgia happening as of right now, or maybe it's just what I'm seeing on social
Mhm.
media. But I think it's a lot of referencing to like iconic figures, iconic singers, and it's kind of like we should want these young artists to like create a roadmap for themselves. So I think there are specific artists that do stand out in terms of their branding and their marketing, but it gradually begins to feel kind of co-opted. But I guess that's just how individuals like recept art, I guess. But yeah.
Are you talking the music itself, or are you talking about how the artists are branding themselves?
Uh, I feel like the way that they're branding themselves of in terms of like, and this is a silly example, but like Benson
Mhm.
Boone is like a up and coming or a star
Mhm.
already, but I think
Mhm.
that there were a lot of comparisons to Harry Styles, a lot of comparisons to Freddie Mercury, and it's just like I feel like other artists' names should not be attached to your name so early in your career. You should be
Well,
developed.
is he attaching his name to them, or the fans attaching?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but I feel like
Well,
it.
well, I mean, one thing about the music industry, what helps sell records is familiarity, right?
Mm,
So I don't think I've ever heard Benson Boone call any of those names or I think fans may put it in that arena, but I've never heard Benson Boone. Me personally, I've never heard Benson Boone say that, right?
right.
Um, but r- radio itself, people don't understand the story of radio, right?
Hmm.
So radio, the stations you listen, well, used to listen to, stations we used to listen to, right? They were branded as hip hop and R&B, pop, rock, whatever, right? So that was to garner an audience,
Right.
right? So you know that if it's a hip hop R&B station, that your target audience is 18 to 35,
Right.
right? That's your target audience.
Hmm.
So you're playing those records. So those records are now, so every artist that hits that genre is going to be grouped together.
Right.
But that's done so that radio can have brands
Mm.
put commercials
Mm.
so that I know whatever I'm selling is
Hmm.
hitting my target audience. It's hitting an urban or black or Latina, you know what I mean? Whoever listens to hip hop,
Hmm.
it's automatic. I know if it's a rock station, then more than likely I'm talking to a white crowd. I'm marketing whatever I'm selling. So that's what radio really turned into. It turned into a marketing avenue that people who were selling things knew exactly the audience that they were talking to.
Hmm.
Right? So, and maybe that's why Benson Boone and Harry Styles, because they're gonna, you know what I mean? Like that's the target audience. Because
Right.
me, like I said, me personally, I've never heard Benson Boone compare himself to any of those artists. But okay,
Mm.
I'm sorry for going off on that tangent. My
No, no,
fault.
I mean these are the conversations to be had. It's your
Mhm.
expertise. So I definitely yeah, but I definitely understand what you're saying of like knowing your target demographic, knowing what fits under that neath that umbrella in marketing.
Right,
Um,
it's all marketing.
all marketing.
It's all marketing.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And Kaylin had a question. When it comes to individuality, how do you pull that artist that's chasing what's popular? How do you make them stand out amongst what's popular?
How do you make the artist stand out amongst what's popular? Sometimes you have to, what I say, jump in the pot, right? To
Mm,
get to get to get in the door, right? So I'm doing what such and such is doing, but I
Hmm.
know my talents are different.
Right.
So when I jump in, sometimes it's like you have a record that may sound very similar.
Hmm.
Um, I think J. Cole's first hit record, Workout for Me,
Hmm.
that workout record sounded just like Kanye's workout. It put me in the same vibe.
Right.
But they are two totally different talents,
Hmm.
right? But the familiarity of workout from J. Cole is what people responded to. And then once he was noticed, the talent that he had took him in a different direction. So yeah, sometimes you have to get in the door and you know what I mean? Because if you're too unique, people may be like, oh, that's weird and not take you up on it. So sometimes you do have to come with familiarity and then differentiate yourself.
Right. Create a jumping off point for
Right.
sure. Any other questions, comments?
Okay, it's got her hand up.
Yes.
Hi, Gary. My name is Rakaya, and my question is, do
Hello,
you
Kaya.
have a particular I made it moment in your career so far? And if so, what was it like, and how did it shape your journey moving forward?
I made it moment. Uh, you know, I think those are the moments that I need to work on. Maybe the vice president title may have
Yeah,
been an I made it moment.
I would hope
Um,
so.
but I I don't live, and people say that might be a fault of mine. I don't live in them. I really don't. Like I keep going. I keep going because I feel like that I made it. I've seen a lot of artists come and go. You know what I mean? Like I'm always relate back to music. I've seen a lot of artists come and go. I've seen a lot of one-hit wonders, and their statement was, I made it. They felt like they made it. And I'm always like, how could you feel this is to me though, right? This isn't everybody because you're supposed to take those moments and be like, I accomplished this goal, right? So you're supposed to do that. But I've seen so many people take that and it just it it kills them. You know what I mean? So I'm the person that's like, if I'm an artist and I have a hit, I'm like, Drake has 200 hits. You know what I'm saying? So, no, like I have work to do. Like I'm now in the door. So,
Mm,
you know, I'm not saying to take my approach, but I feel, yeah, you take a moment and say, I've accomplished this goal, but what's the next goal? You know what I mean? I'm always like, what's the next goal? What's the next achievement? What's the next push for me? What's the next set of motivation? What's the next project I could build? That's me. So
mm.
I don't know if that helps you, Rakia, but that's me.
That was also a great.
Like this is weird for me that when you read off Serena, when you read off my bio, like it's still like who's that guy? Like who are you talking about? You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
I don't know. I try to remain as humble as I possibly can, and just keep rolling with the punches.
I think it's about the dualness of being able to celebrate your accomplishments, but knowing, okay, I've done something great, and now I want to either try something new or expand upon something. And I think that's like
Yeah.
it varies for people, but I think
It
it's
varies. It varies. I would
Mhm.
say what I would say is don't get caught up. Don't get stuck in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't get stuck in it. Like, you live life and you want to get into different things and you know, I'm coming from the music industry and opened a restaurant. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was, something different. It was I wouldn't even call it an accomplishment because I never wanted to. It just happened. So I don't know. You know what I mean? You just gotta keep, you never know where life is gonna take you. Just keep moving forward. That's it.
Mhm. Any other questions? Oh, Andrew has a question of how does your relationship with artists and celebrities impact you? Can you develop relationship with them, or does your position require you to remain distant or, I guess, professional?
No, you could definitely, you could definitely build relationships with, with artists. I mean, if if it's natural, some artists it's not going to happen, and some artists, it will. Yeah, I mean, no, you could definitely build. It doesn't, it's not, unprofessional
Mhm.
to build artists, right? I mean, to build relationships, because sometimes some careers in the music industry, and knowing the game, you may end up being a manager. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Where artists, where you and your relationship is so tight that you end up being an artist, an artist manager, and the business continues. So
Mhm. Any other questions, comments? Oh, yes.
I have, I have a question. So, what happened to the restaurant in Philly?
I am restructuring right now. I'm restructuring the restaurant right now. As a owner, it was a lot on my plate, and and that's, I mean, what, that's a good question. So I opened the restaurant during my downtime, right? When I left out the industry, um, got back into the industry, and I had a staff at the restaurant, but I was not able to be there,
All right.
and nobody took it upon themselves to step up as
Mhm.
a boss, right?
Mhm.
So that's another thing. It's like, yo, when you have an opportunity, you're supposed to see that, and also move forward in it.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm restructuring because nobody stepped up.
Right, right. Looking for the someone who took that opportunity to step in that position would have been someone you trusted, saw.
Exactly. But everybody stayed in a worker mentality,
Mhm.
and it was just, it wasn't beneficial to me.
Right. And I think that's
Sounds
another good thing to apply to internships and jobs. If you notice an opportunity and your boss isn't going to tell you he's looking, but you need to
No,
be.
I mean, I said it, I said it in the beginning, where it was like I knew he couldn't do without me after, coming in early and leaving late. He couldn't do without me, because that wasn't what was going on at the time, right? So I created that, where it's like, oh no, when he leaves, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna be here until he leaves.
Until he goes.
That was my thought process. Everybody else was, oh, it's 5 o'clock or it's 6 o'clock, and I'm out. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Right. I think Kaylin also had another question. Who was your favorite artist that you marketing for and why, or have worked for and why? Or is it like you can't say like who was it?
No, I could say. Um, I'm gonna say, my favorite project
Mhm.
was J. Cole, Forest Hills.
Mm. I thought you would have said working with Beyonce, but J. Cole is up
No,
there.
J. Cole, Forest Hills is probably one of my favorite. Because I believe that was his third album.
I believe so.
I believe that was his third album. And they came in to that meeting. So, we do an introductory meeting where the artist is talking about the project.
Mhm.
And they came in and said, this is how we want to do this project.
Right.
They had it outlined from A to Z. This is how we want to do it. And it was totally against how the record label did it.
Mhm.
They had a fit.
Mhm.
So you just want, I don't know if any of y'all remember, if any of y'all are J. Cole fans, he just dropped the album. There was
Mhm.
no single, right? So usually what we did our usual rollout is a single, right?
Mhm.
When a record off the album drops, and then that's the setup for the album.
Mhm.
And they came in and said, we don't want to do that. And the label was like, that's not how you do it. That's how, the sale, like, nobody's gonna know it's coming. There's no preparation, this, that, and the other. And they went off the rails.
Mhm.
And I sat back and I was like, J. Cole knows his audience. He knows his, you know what I mean? He knows. And it was his most successful album
Right.
because they did it their way. They took a chance, they took a risk. It put an absolute smile on my face because they rattled the cage
Mhm.
and was successful in doing it. So
Yeah.
that's my uh, he's one of my favorite artists, but that was also one of my favorite projects. So great
Mhm.
question with that. Yes.
And then another question, and this is also a question that I had of what album did you work with Beyonce on?
Oh, sure. I was there from Dangerous in Love. I was there from the
Wow.
beginning to ooh, Lemonade.
Wow, wow, wow.
I was
So,
there from the beginning. I was there. I was there. I caught the end of Destiny Child,
mhm.
but yeah, definitely the beginning of Beyonce. So I dealt with dad a lot. I was
Wow.
called into dad's office a lot. I was Matthew Knowles. I
Mhm.
need you to come. I need you to, take a listen to this. So I was with dad.
Wow. Involved in history. That's
Yes, I
that
was definitely Matthew Knowles. I'm the one who approved the Ego remix with Kanye. Like dad had me in the office, like, yeah,
great.
so nah, definitely definitely interesting. And she's very actually very shy,
Mhm.
Beyonce herself. So
Mhm.
it's yeah.
Oh, you
Sasha
got
Fierce. Sasha Fierce is definitely a character.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome to get all of this insight, not only from you and about your experience, but even like this little small morsel of understanding that they're all people, like they're
Yeah, absolutely.
in all their grandeur, they're people just like us who started somewhere. So that's
Absolutely. People with a dream and you put in hard work, you
mm,
take the chances, you take the risk, and yeah, that's how it goes.
yes. Are there any final questions, comments as we begin to wrap up? Please let me know, drop in the chat. But also too, Gary is on LinkedIn. So if you have any additional questions, please follow him on LinkedIn and I will also drop that in the chat as well for all of you. And I just want to say thank you to all of our interns, alumni, mentors for joining us for this role model speaker series. And I think the main thing that we should be taking from not only this conversation, but all of your work this summer is to take a risk, be authentic, and know that you have the ability to achieve anything that you want, that I made it moment, and then keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for having me. It was a pleasure. And oh wait, Andrew has his you're clapping?
All
Okay.
the clapping, yeah.
Yeah, so no, please. I'm here, any question if you need me for anything, please, Andrew, Carolyn, Serena, please reach out.